All right, we're here to talk community calendar. It's a little ideation we've been doing in the last couple weeks or so. And yeah, let's get into it. We've been trying to make Cardano community events more accessible because they're very uh maybe disparately is not the right word. They're very spread out all over different meetup groups, different Google calendars, different Discord servers, so you have to be like on the money all the time. Let me switch my screen. I'm looking at the wrong place. You have to be on the money all the time to be able to catch the events uh, that are interesting to you. So we would like to, yeah, be able to put all of those events in one place so that you can not only select the different groups that you want to, yeah, Session says Twitter Spaces too. Not only select the groups that you like the communities you want to track more specifically in their events, but also be able to um also be able to oh yeah, I was hoping that in part of this you'd be able to have some sort of tool to integrate that calendar into your website via an embed or something. Now, I'm not the technical guru here, um, but I am surrounded by many valiant wizards in that field. So, super special thanks to Kawe for helping. Yeah, just providing support and energy to keep me interested in wanting to stay uh stay here innovating around the after town hall and whatnot over the Fun 9 desert where we had a huge delay. Yeah, anyway, so we had multiple people take notes off of last week's call. I know Newman went through it, and I know Simon went through it, although he's not here today. And so I know several people are following along. CMOS, did you go through it? Different person, not you, man. Yeah. Anyway,
I gave you some ideas though.
yes, you were there for the conversation. So you didn't do a read watch, I'm sure. Anyway, Newman, what have you been thinking about? Because I know you didn't get to hang out with us for you had your own breakout room last week, and
Yep.
go
Yep. So
ahead.
I was really, really excited to listen in on last week's conversation. It sounds like we're really thinking in uh, the same frame, that these events are out there. People are creating them in some fashion, and then to be able to get them into some collected or aggregated form. I think CMOS made a big point, which is I could definitely follow up on, which was that like the manual curating, like a directory and a database needs curating, and
Hmm.
this is something to address. And yeah, and then there was the GitHub sort of as a hub for people to put their info in. My uh, my main the main point for me is that the calendar is essential for community development, and I think that the interest here sort of shows that out, and that the way people are doing it now needs to be sort of investigated. Like, how are people doing calendaring? Uh, do they have any kind of system? Are they trying to like collect, or are they trying to aggregate themselves? For example, C4C, a community that I'm involved with, has their own events, and we've had up to like 3 or 4 events weekly that we put in a Google Calendar. And then we created for the general community, a community calendar, which showed all of, collected and collated, curated a list of interesting things from the projects that we did. For instance, Open Litter Map was in there, Cardano neutral, climate neutral Cardano was in there. Like all of these sort of groups had events, and that we tried to put them in there. It quickly became untenable. It quickly became like, time zone shifted, and, et cetera, et cetera. So I can give you that as the pain. So I sort of know that that is a thing, and I'm here for the build out, because I think that the tools are there for us to build it out. And I see that CMOS has his hand up. I know that he's got some fantastic ideas about this.
Yeah, man.
So,
Word.
yeah, I was just kind of recollecting like the things that we talked about last time. A GitHub repo where Google Calendar share links are manually added and then switched to some sort of scraping script. I'm thinking we could do a little bit better. I'm worried about the attachment to one platform, aka Google Calendars. We thought maybe it would be cool because you could have your space anywhere, Twitter Spaces, meetups, but so long as you exported those events to Google Calendar and shared that could be uniform. But maybe the RSS protocol would be even better. Google Calendars discontinued RSS feeds, creating RSS feeds for their calendars. So it might actually be an opportunity for us to develop a really simple interface where you can either connect to Google or manually enter an event, choose some settings, just fill out a form, and it creates an RSS feed and adds that RSS feed to the GitHub, whereby our flagship website or competitor websites could scrape and provide those calendar events in whatever interface people like.
Well, if you have an RSS, well, those first two things, and I know that Darlington probably wants to jump in. Kawe are you also, which one's Kawe? Who's Kawe?
It's me. Hi.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kawe, I didn't see you in there. I was wondering if, because anyway, okay. It's good to see you. I'd heard your name mentioned at the recording, and we only have the pictures of on the YouTube. There's only like the several pictures. Anyway, I'm apologizing. The RSS I think is a great idea. And then the Google Calendar format .ics it's a pretty simple format. I'm curious as to like what the other tools that people would use, like Discord and Twitter. Randall just posted something in the Discord chat, where you have a Discord chat on Swarm, which is probably good to mention. Is it on the events channel is where the discussion is being held.
Yeah, let me drop a link to that. Keep going.
So I don't know enough about the Twitter API, but there's a chance that you could just one-click authenticate with Twitter, and it'll pull all of your scheduled upcoming spaces.
Yeah. And did you see the Discord one? Discord has an API endpoint where you can get the scheduled events for every guild ID. And that's something that Randall posted up. So yeah, like the idea of just collecting or scraping or pinging or those things. I'm curious as to how I feel like RSS fits in this because of the two-way nature that you can publish and subscribe to different ones. I sort of think of an interface of all of these feeds and or events or calendars of feeds, which would be OPML, like a list of RSS feeds, that where you can easily click like these are the ones you want to subscribe to, and possibly these are duplicates. Like, oh, I see a duplicate.
Some
metadata,
like an object that includes the RSS feed, but it adds a little bit more metadata so that anybody who makes a website, that anybody who wants to have their own event website can kind of be choosy or smart about how it's rendered.
Yes, yes. See, that I think it gets to your point of like a protocol and not locking people in to a into a platform. Having a protocol that isn't just a platform where you have to get, you know, an account or anything. You could just, it's just open data that sits out there.
An agreed upon JSON format where you have a finite number of acceptable values for the category, for example.
Right. That would be cool. That'd be fun, like governance. Like every quarter or every year, we could decide like what are do the categories need to change or something.
The
I'm thinking
connector
about governance.
interface, the connector interface / manual addition interface, the RSS creator, would make the RSS and push it to some sort of centralized area where the websites can scrape.
Yeah, I'm not exactly certain how that works, but
Me neither.
But
Yes. So last week there was mention of well, we talked about doing a feasibility audit and towards some of these different pathways that are options. Like we talked this week we've been talking a little bit about RSS feeds, how to make that work. Last week we were more talking about using Discord, Google, and Meetup APIs to generate event JSON files that would be hosted in a Git repo and then could be turned into whatever type of outputs that we wanted.
It could be all, I think it should be all of those things. We should incorporate all of those things, like the interface where people automatically connect or add events should push our like protocol JSON RSS object to the GitHub repo, do an automatic push. And then, or maybe it'll be an automatic pull request, which then gets manually vetted. And on top of that, once the events reach this commercial website where people find the events, that website will be able to tack on its own attributes, like a favorites list. You can heart a calendar and it's there when you log in again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can thumbs up or thumbs down an event, and that's just a feature of the scraper website. But if we're making our own flagship website in that fashion, we can use it for like a grassroots
MVP.
quality
Yeah.
control.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. Johnson, hand. Sir. Sage.
Yeah, I don't have I need to hop off after this, but I'm curious, because it's important that we, um, you know, my selfish interest in some of this stuff too is really getting down to a very small, very tiny, unopinionated layer where the data lives. That's not concerned with specific technologies, and that just has how we get to that list of data set. I know Nori mentioned potentially it living on chain in metadata and stuff, but however we get to that data set to keep it super tiny and super clean and small, and then all these different teams can build abstractions on top of it, but at the core, you just have this small object that's an event, like as small as, say, a Cardano transaction, right? But you've been able to see where we can build on top of a Cardano transaction. So many different things. So when we're thinking about that, I think like focusing on accomplishing that part before we look at some of the layer and abstractions on top of that, would be whatever working group forms out of that would be something I would be interested in. And then the feasibility, we can dream all day about all of this stuff, but I think we should do a hackathon and just commit 4 hours and we just like get on and pair program and like prove out what can we accomplish in like 3 months. Like what can we get funded for to do in 3 months and like deliver. So if we got like 2, 3 people to show up on and we can use Gimbal Labs or Swarm. I know Gimbal Labs have that what do they call it?
Carnival?
Live
Oh, live coding. Yeah, that's right after Carnival.
right? Or it could just be an ad hoc thing. And then we can prove out all of this stuff, right? Someone can be looking at the Google Calendar route. Someone can be looking at the RSS and like just trying to like prove something so we can get a good sense of cost to implement. And then I think again for this first round, we should keep the scope small, something we can deliver within 3 months or something that the community can start using and inform some of these specific features, right? That they might need. So I really like your idea, Newman, about asking the community. I don't know if there's a way to expedite that and like just get a general sense of what people are using now. To sort of keep the focus on what people are using now. So when we do the little pair programming hackathon proof of concept um Saturday or whatever. I don't know what's the best way to like go about getting that information in a short period of time, like 2 weeks. Like, can we get that in a week or two?
Ideas are forming about the kind of people we would ideally want to have at such a hackathon. Somebody to
Well,
set up.
no, I mean like getting data about what people are using now. How can we get that quickly?
Yeah, Newman. Well, let's.
Does anybody know how we can get that information quickly?
I think you've just
that
got
would
to
be-
survey. I think you
Yeah.
just got to just pick out, like what does Swarm, Gimbal Labs, how does Lido Nation do it? How's Project Catalyst do it? They just put out the timeline. It wasn't in a Google Calendar. It was
Right.
on a slide,
Right. Yeah.
Off the top of my head, yeah, Google Calendar, Twitter Spaces, and Meetup and Discord. If we cover all 4 of those, I mean that's a good bit of work integration wise, and it covers a lot of people.
Well, it would be good. It would be good to like survey the communities, like from the end user's perspective, like how they do and then we could say, okay, these 85% use Google Calendar. Some people do Twitter Spaces, but they don't record it, and I think that's what we'll show is that a lot of people just don't have a cohesive method for handling their calendar. And then we could dig even deeper with the UX sort of user research of like, why don't they do that? And do they not value the calendars? Or do they not really see the value, etc.?
I love this.
So if I start a little thread, sorry, Peter, if I start a little thread in the events channel, because I heard you list out a bunch of names, Newman, which community should we survey?
Yeah.
For calendar? People can just drop that in there, and I can be. Discord has support for threads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I just create a thread.
Yeah,
okay.
just message and then you can create a thread off of any of them.
Okay, yeah, and then I can be on the hook for dropping something down to those people of what they're using.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe even a super simple Google form of everything.
Yes.
and I can tweet it out too. And then I can update this thread, or I guess I could post the link to the forms and the results in this thread so people can see. And I have the capacity to prove out one thing. That's my dev contribution. So I'm gonna pick one thing, probably the thing that's selfishly closest to what Lido will use, and I will do the proof of concept for that. So if there are other developers who wants to help do like a proof of what were you calling it, Peter?
Feasibility audit.
Feasibility audit, like cost wise and things like that to help us price the proposal. We could sort of collaborate and do that together on a Friday or Saturday or something.
Yeah, we'll go talk. I'll say something about that, about doing a hackathon in the async chat, and we'll start that conversation. Maybe do something during the proposal period. Session, sorry, thank you for your patience and grace.
Session's
No,
hand was getting tired. He was
Yeah.
he was holding his hand up. He's like, oh, it's getting hot.
I was just about to jump in,
Yeah.
but
Best
no,
best
it's
case.
just it's just a quick idea. I love this. But I'm thinking, and I wasn't paying much attention in the earlier part of this call. Sorry. But you know, this could be there's an opportunity here. We're talking about community events to aggregate all areas of the internet, all corners of the internet that the community is in. Facebook groups, Reddit, subreddits. I think it'll be cool to just kind of aggregate everything in one place. So events is one thing, but then there's just all these other platforms where there are community members in. I think it'll also be valuable. That's all. That's my contribution.
Sweet. Yeah, other social media outlets that can do event announcements. Yeah, for sure. Facebook, we hadn't heard that in this conversation so far, so awesome. Yeah.
Fuck Facebook. Have you seen this project schedule site? Maybe we could work with him. Maybe he'd be willing to be the first scraper of these event objects.
Schedule site? Did you mention that last week? I forget. That sounds familiar. Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Schedule site.
We would need the interface. We would need, it would be a separate deliverable for every integration, like Google Calendar. We would need an expert that would take each submission and transpose it into our agreed upon RSS object and push it to GitHub. We would need somebody that would be able to build a website that could scrape that GitHub.
Mm-hmm. This is good. Well, I'm trying to think. Newman, what are you thinking for next steps? We got several things to be thinking about in the async. I want to keep these meetings and videos we're having as bite-sized as possible. We've been going for about 20-25 minutes. And is your hand still up, Darlington, or did you just put it up?
He's got his hand up.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I'm trying to go for. I'll hand it over to you, Darlington. If you're putting your hand up in this moment, what you got?
I posted a second question just for the what are you using? The question I was gonna post to the group is what are you using for event scheduling and communicating? And events communicating, if there's a better way to phrase that question, let me know. And then I was just gonna put all of these options that we have on here. And I think maybe Google lets you add an option for them to add another option. Is that a thing? I'm not sure.
Like in the Google form?
Yeah, to say they can add a third option.
Yeah.
Is that a thing you can do?
I think you could have an that would be interesting. I know that you could have an other.
Yeah.
You can just, and then they can just type in, like if they use more than one.
Okay.
Which?
So go ahead.
Nothing.
See you, Session.
If you have a better way to phrase that question, it's in the Discord, so we can start a thread there too. And then if you have other items that should be in the list, drop them in the Discord, add them on there, and then should the list be multiple choice or check boxes with multiple options?
Like
check boxes.
Yeah.
Or do we want your primary? Because sometimes people do one thing, that's why it goes first, and then it gets disseminated, and sometimes the dissemination isn't always up to date. But But checkboxes.
Check
So this is the reason
boxes.
why we'll go with multiple choice, right? If you just want the primary versus checkboxes, we want all the
Could you do a
things.
rank? Maybe?
I don't think on Google
Well,
Form.
I was about asking that
Mm.
maybe rank if it's possible.
With Google Form, unless we use something else, what else
Yeah,
have
with
people
Google
used for
Form you can do
surveys?
that. Like I think you can give points.
Points.
Yeah.
Hmm. Let's see.
What does the foundation use as a type form? Maybe type form does it. Maybe.
Yeah, type
Let me look
form
at type
and jot form. Yeah.
I can look at type form for the rank thing. I think it's free to do one, right? Yeah.
Let's see.
That would be, I think that would be great just to collect that little bit, and that would give us, it's just, a data oriented sort of thing. Give us evidence to say, oh, if, that we really do need this tool, we need to account for this tool, or they give us something that we haven't heard of. And then it could spark that importance of calendar eventing. I mean, that was the pain point, and from a community organizing minimum viable DAO, minimum viable community, like what do you really need? And I think events are what drive it.
Yeah,
And
it's there's so much attention that the network has pointed at it, and there's a finite amount of attention, and being able to get your event announced in a place where more people see it is the pain point, because you can host a regular event every week, but if no one knows it, then only people who come across your Discord server or your individual like social media campaigning, they don't see it. So if we can, develop a flow, or let our water carve us out a river where all the events go by us, then we can better be able to chat,
and that's
share what we want to share.
So put it in context here. I think we are talking about one, the visibility, calendar visibility or meeting visibility, one. And then we are also talking about efficiency. So I think that's what I'm like wrapping everything into. One is how do we arrange the meetings in a way that it's visible, anyone can easily get to know. Or probably, I think another thing is in a way that probably if I just get to see a link, I can also get a short description or understanding of what the meeting is about. So I think all of that still comes under visibility, right? And then the second thing, it comes under the efficiency problem here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to you real quick, CMOS. I wanted to throw in here speaking to your desire for like a description of the event and whatnot. Part of what we want to do here with this is create a metadata standard for these events, so that
JSON standard.
the JSON standard for the metadata to go into the JSON for sure.
Right.
Go ahead, CMOS. Thank you for that. Oh, you're still on mute. Sorry.
It feels like the best way to do this is through like 3 to 5 different service layers. I mentioned maybe a custom interface that pushes these custom RSS JSON objects to GitHub. If the interface sends an API request, if we make an API server for that front end to then push it to GitHub, and we make that API open, then nobody has to rely on us for any part. They could, anybody could make their own interface, a superior interface for adding events in the proper the expected format to the system through the open API, and then anybody can whip up their own event calendar website as soon as they understand the script.
Darlington.
Can we just try to get an exhaustive list of choices on here? So Typeform does have it, the rank choice, I have Discord, Google Calendar, Twitter Spaces. What else?
You know, each of the social medias probably has like event things. So like LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, you know, who knows? But every social media will have like an event thing, I would assume. Did you put down like, I guess just sort of, I guess Zoom, you know, Zoom has an API. They just do it in Zoom. A lot of communities just, they skip Google Calendar to just have it in Zoom. You know, and this is where communities, they're just like, yeah, we just post it everywhere and it's never, you know, Darling, so what do we got so far?
So far, I've got Discord, Meetup, Google Calendar, Twitter Spaces, RSS-feed, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky. Oh, you said Zoom.
Meetup. Zoom, yeah, Zoom. Sorry.
Meetup.com. Yeah, I have meetup.com on here. Does that seem pretty exhaustive? Yeah.
You know, some do their roll your own like website portals like Mighty Networks or some of those school ones like Thinkful or you know, like an LMS or some, you know, maybe even WordPress has like a calendaring plugin thing.
Yeah, there's even like well, like there's proposals like Cardano Feed who are doing education type well, they're trying to sell classes inside of their platform, and I'm sure there's going to be some sort of calendar type, well, there's some way
and the
like
nice thing
that.
about these websites where your own type, they tend to then either have an RSS feed for the calendar events or an API. WordPress has an API. If you're using a plugin, they probably do provide APIs. Okay, well, we can roll with this. I can add an other here, see how many people chooses that.
Yeah. And this, and just so that we or you all, we who are here are planning on drafting and producing a Fund 10 proposal. And this, if you
So as far as like next step, I was thinking get the survey out, do the feasibility, and then draft a proposal, or like even draft a proposal while we're trying to get the feasibility going, and then edit the proposal with specific details and costs and stuff based on the feasibility study.
Yeah, so thinking hackathon feasibility study proposal drafting session.
Right on.
It would be
and
nice.
Then put it in Fund 10. What was that?
It would be nice if we could build a WordPress plugin to take a lot of the work out of making your own calendar scraper website.
Yeah,
and this could be adjacent proposals too, right? Like definitely, you know, just to reiterate, it would be good if we keep the, hey, let's create the events objects, like just the creation of the database, a proposal, like that's like separate, so there's not a lot of pushback for other opinionated things that might come on top of how that data is displayed. Like let's just get the data here and everybody can access it. I feel like that should be a proposal, and that should be like a super short, super turnaround thing. And then we do it and start adding the data there. And then if we want to build on top of it, if we want to build scrapers, I feel like we should leave all of those extra stuff out.
I agree.
A lot of other opinions comes in.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing, Darlington, is that the first priority is the API server that would create these RSS objects and put them in one place.
The data, it might be a server, it might be a repo, it might be on chain, but like, that priority of how do we create all the events in one location?
right after the API server would be the first interface that interacts with.
And that should be proposal proposal that's linked to it but separate in parallel. Yeah, to be done in parallel in the same fund. Yeah.
What are you
So,
gonna say, Newman?
well, I'm just, you know, I kind of understand this stuff, but I haven't really built with it, and so my knowledge is spotty and kind of airy. But I come to it through like a real need as a user, as somebody that's just walked into Project Catalyst, and it's like, oh, I discovered the Swarm event thing on Meetup, and then I discovered as a user, and then later as a group manager trying to put out the events. So I kind of get the need. I would love to, and I think that what I'm projecting is like a fear or a pain point is how to get a community to change and adopt a different workflow to create events. Now, for another type of service. And we could sort of like don't tell them and just say, oh, you have a public feed on Google Calendar, or you have a Twitter space that we can scrape. I think CMOS is talking about that, like how to collect them all. But Darlington, you're sort of like your key, this foundational piece, not to say but the idea of this foundational first priority is just one, doing this survey to kind of bolster the proposal, but then just sort of just having all of the events from the different communities in a repo in some space that's accessible programmatically, that we can build, that others can build and stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
Build
that's the
off
idea.
of.
Just getting all of those events. I know you're saying someplace because you don't want to say the dirty word, but get them all in a central location.
You
Is
heard me.
GitHub the dirty word?
Yeah. Just threw that around right off the bat last week. Start.
You know, and it can
Well,
be
I would,
distributed, right? It can be
yeah.
distributed, it can be decentralized or whatever. I mean, if I had a magic wand, it's almost be like, hey, how can we add another transaction type to Cardano called event? Right. That's a transaction type.
Metadata standard.
So that right at that level of like foundational, the raw data is here, everybody can access it, and then we can build on top of it.
Yeah.
Before we so I created the form. Sorry, I'm gonna hop off. I created the form. I put it in the Discord. If you guys want me to change anything on there, just put it in that chat and I'll edit it. And then I'll wait till tomorrow and start pasting that form in the different thing that you posted in there, Newman. And I'll tweet about it on Twitter too. And then in the same Discord, I know I said after the 8th is when I'm available for a workshop-y, like a hackathon. I will put some suggested availability in there, and if anybody else wants to party, we can async on that hackathon stuff.
Yeah, Newman, go ahead. I think I know where you're
Well,
going.
yeah, where will you've got some dates? Did you see that Let Us Meet? We're gonna use that, or how to
Let Us Meet. Yeah, let's use that. Let's use the Let Us Meet. I didn't see that. We use that.
It's
Where
up.
is that? Is that posted?
Pull it down,
Yeah.
Newman. Yeah, just resend it. That'd be good.
Okay, yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
All right, CMOS, and then let's wrap this up. We've got next steps. We got things to do. We can move on.
Nice.
We can start sharing drafts for our own idea of what this JSON object should look like by maybe studying the similarities between some of the event platforms that we've been talking about. I mean, a lot of these attributes come to mind instantly: event title, start date. But we can start like officially looking at the similarities and nail down some obvious aspects, and perhaps like which aspects should be multiple layers of depth, etc.
Yeah. So yeah,
Speaking of the metadata standard, like the data standard, like what we collect. I mean, the ICS is a, maybe it needs to be pared down. It can be like a non, like a backwards compatible, like it doesn't break ICS, but it is just a small version of the ICS, I think. And then RSS is just XML. Well, I don't know, but I also know that you can podcasts are like enclosures on top of RSS, so you can do an attachment to the feed, item or post or whatever they call them. But I figure we can set all that, we can all set all that up. But I think that this is a good first steps, elegant next actions to get some survey, to get some sort of traction, see if people, respond like, oh yeah, events are a big thing, and or like figuring out like how they're doing it now, the sort of what is, and then we can build an intervention to make that better. It's just standard design practice. I think that's great.
yeah, that's my guess is for this metadata thing, we'll look at the ICS file format and see where we want to tweak it. But we want it to be the data to be able to go back to that form fairly easily as well.
Did Tevo have like a Miro board or some other? Because I'm just wondering about like the project management part. Do we need like a Google Doc or a Google folder where these things, like we can like put things, or something in a format where just the Discord, I have a feeling, is just going to end up getting a ton of. We need to might need to consolidate.
For sure.
A bit there.
There's no live documents yet. If we want to say start a document that has a section for a metadata standard, a proposal draft, keep it all in one link that we can iterate on together, that would probably be awesome. Link all these recordings so we have like a, it's a historic document as well as our working document.
Yeah,
that would be awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, look for that in our async chat channel. I'm gonna throw that link back here in the live chat, and yeah, see you in the async or next week at the after town hall for another
Beautiful.
update.
Thank y'all.
Peace.
Bye bye. Ciao.